Okay, perfect. Can you hear me, Jason?
I gotcha.
Fantastic. All right, we're all settled. And again, thank you so much, everyone. Well, we are so excited today to welcome you all for our second speed learning session, The Art of Visual Storytelling, videos that inspire giving. My name is Yulia Zhernavaya. I'm head of strategy and growth at GiveEffect. If you're not familiar, we are a 10-in-1 nonprofit software platform with all the tools, 10 systems to manage everything from your donor, volunteers, marketing, grants, events, moves management, you name it, all in one place to raise more funds,
Our video went
achieve
off.
financial results, but also achieve your mission goals. And today, we're so excited. Here you are. You have some visual. We're in visual storytelling. I have some
That was a
effects
super
going
dramatic
on. I
entrance.
love it. But today we're so excited.
Unintentional, but it worked.
I love it. Jason Allinger. Jason, I'll pass it to you to introduce yourself to everyone.
Awesome. How's it going, everybody? Jason Ellinger, Beard and Bowler. We are commercial filmmakers that help nonprofits raise funds and awareness through the power of storytelling. In particular, the mission moment video that you play right before the big ask at a gala, aka the wallet opener. It's been deemed. It's a piece that gets people emotionally involved and invested, and there's a science to it. So I hope to break some of that down for you today and answer any questions you may have about storytelling or how to get started in video.
I love it. Before we jump in, for those who are joining our speed learning sessions for the first time, it's a 30 minutes, very quick, but packed with practical and tactical information session. We're going to spend about 20 minutes with Jason, just learning all about video storytelling from him. And then we're going to have about 10 to 20 minutes of live Q&A. So as we go through the session, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, but there is also Q&A at the bottom of your screen. So please put all the questions. We love engagement, and we already received so many questions on the registration page. So can't wait to dive into all of them. So first thing first, Jason, why videos? Like obviously everyone watching things right now, but why videos for nonprofits?
That is a great question. I'm actually going to toss it back to the chat because I want to hear what everyone else thinks, because we do, I don't know, maybe a half dozen calls each week with new nonprofits we've never heard of before. And each week they're telling us why they want video, why they think it's important. So I just want to hear from the chat
Let's see.
answers, whether a sentence, a word, why video over other forms of, why do you think it matters to your donors, to people you serve? I'd love to hear that. All right,
Love
Sasha,
it.
the humanitarian impact. I love that because that's part of our mission, is to tell stories that inspire others to positive action. And I believe one of the easiest ways to do that and have the biggest splash or ding in the universe is through video, especially in a digital age now. Visual impression inspires emotion. Oh, man, these are good. You guys, you give the webinar
Fantastic.
here. Younger generation plugged into videos. My business partner, our story architect, would say no one reads anymore. That's one of his big things. So your story, you can blog about it, write about all you want, but like to capture something in video and meet people where they're at right now is probably one of the biggest reasons. If you've ever been to a large event where they had a speaker, and drop a 1 in the chat if you have been to a large event where they had a speaker, or any size event where they had a speaker, where everybody in the room was feeling the same thing at the same time. And it was dead silent. You could hear a pin drop, and you could feel it, that lump in your throat rising up, and the people next to you, you could tell that same thing was happening to them. That story is creating a feeling inside somebody. And when you have video, you can reduce a lot of the risk, because not every speaker hits. And you probably have been to a few that did not hit as well. Not every speaker hits. So our aim is to reduce some of that risk of a story not hitting, and then adding more things to it, like color and soundtrack, to really, and B-roll and visuals, to really move people to an emotional point. And that's the whole goal of your video, to get people so emotionally invested that they're ready to take the next step. not your history, not your board members, just to get them to take the next step and find out more.
I love that. And I love everyone's engagement and comments. Thank you for that. So you kind of hit on it, but if you can share just a little bit more about why videos are more impactful for nonprofits specifically when we talk about, other forms of media.
It's funny because we get brought in a lot of times for large anniversaries. It's our
Mm,
20th, our 40th, our
mhm,
50th. We did 110th the other a few months ago, and we tell people, "Great, congratulations." Nobody cares about your anniversary. They don't care about your history. They don't care about. Show me a story
mm,
of how you help someone get from point A to point B with you as the guide. That's what people care about. History,
mhm,
statistics, all of that stuff. Information turns an audience cold. We need to bring them back, warm them back up. You'll notice Good Auctioneers doing this, warming the crowd back up
okay.
with stories and good storytelling. So anniversary, great. Maybe we'll slap a special logo at the end, not the beginning, at the end, and then swap it out later to make it an evergreen piece. But like history, legacy, it's not. Tell us a story of impact. That's what people want to
Mm,
connect to. The sociology of self-selecting and self-identifying with the hero of the story. That's why we watch Disney movies over and over and over again. We can self-select with Moana, with this princess, with this prince, whoever it is, you can feel yourself. Those Disney movies are aimed at just as much at adults as they
mhm.
are at children. You'll see those storylines, jokes that go over the kids' heads, but adults are connecting to those too. So that's a reason if you're watching Finding Nemo for the 50th time with your 5-year-old like I am, it's
Mm,
still you still kind of get sucked in on some of those
right.
scenes, you know? Yeah.
And I think I mean, it's a harsh truth, right? So many nonprofits tell me we have our 20th anniversary, we have our 40th anniversary. It's great. But what I hear also that your story, like if you want to start using video storytelling, you don't have to wait for the anniversary, right? Or like a special occasion that can be part of your this year storytelling goal or mission.
100%,
Awesome.
100%. Don't wait for the big anniversary. If you do,
Right.
that's usually the excuse to bring us in. So give us a
Mhm.
call, but you don't have to wait for that.
Well, you just mentioned a little bit about the Disney and like every story kind of have a same, not the same. It has a recipe, right, for success. So I'm curious, and this was actually one of the questions that we got too. What are some core elements of the successful video story?
Okay, so
And is
there are
there
some
one?
cool. There are exactly 7 elements to every
Okay.
successful story. And you'll hear a lot about storytelling. In fact, you should look up Donald Miller, Building a Story Brand, probably one of the easiest breakdowns for, I think it's aimed at small businesses, but it works for nonprofits as well. Um, you have a character or a hero who has a problem. The most important part, you have to introduce this early, who gets introduced to a guide. This is you, nonprofit, consultant, who business, this is you, the guide, who gives that character a plan and then guides them to an action. And that action either ends in a tragedy, a sad ending, or a happy ending, like our comedy, tragedy or comedy. Happy ending is what we mostly know of in America. But those 7 elements in that order, with that problem inserted very early on and holding that tension to the end, that is the formula that we use for every single story that we tell. And then even if it's the same organization, we're brought back year 2, year 3, we're doing those
Mm,
same elements. And a lot of times it's the same questions too. And we'll just ask them. If you ask the same 10 questions to 7 different people, you will get wildly different stories from it.
mm,
And it's almost a rinse and repeat for storytelling. But once you understand that, even more so than using it for your organization, it will break the glass for you. You'll notice this in every sitcom, every movie, every good novel, every good series that you see. They start with a problem, and some TV
mhm,
shows, some of the newer ones, like if you're watching on connected TV, not broadcast, they'll start with something called a cold open, where they just suck you right in. Immediate problem. You don't know what's happening. There's chaos around you, but you're suddenly hooked. Then
that's
their
right.
introduction
Yeah.
happens. And then they start unraveling little pieces of it, but they don't resolve that problem till the end. And sometimes if you're
Mm,
watching a series, They don't resolve that problem till the end of the series. And guess what they do at the end? They insert a new problem or a little hook. Or if you stay to the end of the credits, you'll see Thor's hammer for the next Marvel movie, right? Like,
Oh my
so they
goodness.
insert new problems because that's what keeps us engaged, is the problem and attention in the story.
Yeah, 10 hours of binge watching the season one, and then there's a new problem, and
Yes. It's
you're
like you
waiting
get
for
that
a
it
year.
that's satisfaction, but it's just like
Like,
it's
finally
only for a
arrived.
little bit. I actually timed it. There's a whole list of Disney movies from the time the main problem or the villain disappears to roll credits. And it's like 8 minutes at the longest. And I think Toy Story 1, probably their highest grossing, was like a minute and 45 seconds before, spoiler alert, Buzz and Woody drop into the sunroof and are reunited with their kid. And then there's a minute and 45 seconds that nobody will remember because we resolved the story. And if you want to know, it's they're in their new home, and Buzz is worried, and Woody says to Buzz, "What could be worse than a Buzz Lightyear?" And you hear a puppy bark, and that's the end of the movie that you won't remember because it was resolved, and there was a minute and 45 seconds of happy ending, then roll credits,
Wow.
and that's how seriously the professionals take holding tension to the very end. Amy, I see your question. We will get you the 7 elements at the end. Yulia or Tara will drop in a link, and I have a whole PDF for you, a playbook with all 7 elements, even some sample interview questions. So stay tuned until the end. We'll get that for you.
I'm curious, Jason. So with this, you just gave an example from a Disney movie, right? Can you maybe give a little preview if you put it in nonprofit context? What can be a maybe more generalized example of those 7 elements in someone's gala video?
Okay, so 90% of the time, this is a client journey.
Okay.
And I understand there are some where they're nonverbal, and then there are some where they're super sensitive stories. And those are the exceptions. We've done more creative things for that. But 90% of the time, it's a client journey. And client journey is someone that you've helped from point A to point B. So if John was experiencing a problem with homelessness or addiction or something like that, we're going to start with that problem and start with him maybe talking about how he was bullied in high school or how he was the
Mm.
outcast or how he ended up on a stuff that you're going to see and realize that your character is not perfect. Your character is not like this person that's so like rich and lavish lifestyle, someone that we can't relate to, right? And you'll notice this in Disney movies now. If you remember the opening of Finding Nemo, Marlin is our character, our hero. It didn't start out with him successful.
That's
He
right.
had like 200 eggs and a wife and a house overlooking the ocean with a beautiful view. Barracuda comes, eats all of the children and his wife. That is a
It's
horrible
tragic.
opening. This is a Disney movie, mind you. This is a horrible opening, but what's
Uh-huh.
happening is that we're starting to self-select with that character, Marlin,
Mm.
because he's timid, he's lost his courage, he's feeling the pain of loss that so many of us have felt, whether it was a grandparent, spouse, a child, or even a pet that was dear to us. Every one
Right.
of us has experienced loss. So therefore, we self-select with Marlin pretty hard, and
Mm.
now we're him. Now we're this little clownfish in the middle of the ocean because they made it so real to us, and we were able to self-select. So when we introduce somebody new, we spend some time. We talk about their
Mm.
problem right out of the gate, and we spend some time there talking about how they ended up there, talking about like
Mm.
this could happen to anyone. This could happen to me. I had a niece or a nephew who had an
Mm.
addiction issue or something. Like these are problems that all of us, if not have experienced firsthand, will know of somebody that has
Right.
experienced. And once you have them self-selected, your viewer, that's where they're hooked. Who did they turn
Mm.
to? Who was their guy? How did they get out? And they're looking to their guide, their Yoda, their Obi-Wan, the person that's
Mm.
going to take them to the next level, and give them a plan. So that's where you can start with your not just videos, but your storytelling. Start in the
Yeah,
problem, spend some time there, and don't relieve that tension to the very end.
I love it. What are some of the mistakes that you've seen nonprofit doing when they're creating those videos? Or maybe most common mistakes?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could drop it in the chat if you've seen some that just didn't hit, or if you had experience with videos that just didn't hit. But what we see most commonly is making themselves the hero,
Mm.
talking about themselves, spending time talking about their organization, their history. I legit had one ask me to interview all 27 of their board members. 27.
Wow.
For what
Wow.
purpose? Board,
Mhm.
my partner says it's in their name, board. Like, we're not going to, sorry if there are board members here, but we're not going to interview your board members. They're great for a second
Mm.
conversation when you've hooked them
Mhm.
with a story of why they should invest any sort of time in you, their most valuable resource. That's when you can bring a board member in, director of development, anyone for that second conversation. But to get them there, that's definitely not your first conversation where you're talking about your history or anything of those lines. Small ones that we've seen, starting with a logo, happens a lot. Like, it just
Mhm.
a logo and then, hello, I'm John, the executive director of ABC. Like, we are 10 seconds into the video and I'm already off. I'm clicked off. Like, no logo, no
Mhm.
intro, anything that can be done with what we call a lower third graphic or something that's a title like Jason Ellinger, co-founder of Beard and Bowler.
Mhm.
I don't have to say I'm Jason Ellinger because you see
Yeah.
that in the title, right? Logo, same thing. Save that for the end. What we start with to hook people is the same thing that shows are doing. We're following the trends that are working, starting with a cold open. And sometimes that's the most powerful, the most extreme
Mhm.
soundbite. Pop it right up front, even if it's out of context. Then let's unravel the story later. We have to hook your viewers like a good hook in
Mhm.
writing, in a newspaper article, in your blog, in your social post. A good hook brings people in. Then you unravel the rest of it later on.
Oh, sounds good. Um, Another question that we've received, actually, a variation of it, is I think everyone understands video is important, right? And nonprofit do want to start. But I think there is some hesitation in terms of like ROI. How much is it okay? How much is it okay to invest upfront? Or what do I invest? Or what is the ROI is going to be? Can you share any kind of advice or information there?
Yeah, this is a tough one to hear because we're typically not your first call if you've never done video before. We're
Mm,
your second or third call after you've done it before. The guy is screwed up, or you're stuck with 200 pages of transcript, and now you're a story editor all of a sudden, like helping this GWC, we call him, guy with camera out because he had a fancy setup, could give you some pretty visuals, but didn't understand the 7 elements or the structure of storytelling. And for us, it's a 2 month process. You want to figure 10% of your budget. If you're trying to raise
mm,
a capital campaign, a million, 5, 6 million, you're not going to do that with a $5,000 investment.
mm,
You're not. Like, when we're in business as a for-profit business, businesses usually understand that, hey, I may have to spend 10,000 in ad spend before I make 20,000 in return.
right.
That's a common business thing in just starting out. For nonprofits, that's not common. And that's what we deal
Mhm.
with every day because they are a business, right? But they can't, it is very frowned upon for them to spend money on marketing or storytelling. I always love working with grants, foundations, people
Mhm.
that can are forward thinking and can invest that. But some of my favorite success stories, if we want to talk about ROI, is working with an organization year one that had no video. They're about 570,000 in one night. This was a pretty
Mm,
big gala,
wow.
lawyers and accountants that they had there. I realize some of you may not be there just yet, but we used video. Next year, $670,000.
Wow.
They realized the importance of it because they're not the only ones trying to get buy-in. We have to get buy-in and prove to all the different
Mm,
stakeholders and that this is relevant. So they invested more than next year. And they went from 670,000 to a record-breaking $1.1 million.
wow.
That is night one that their ROI happened. Here's the best part. We make the videos evergreen. So it didn't end there. Their
Mm,
director of development took it to a small family foundation. $2 million over 2 years she got because this guy was touched by the video, in particular for their culinary school.
wow.
Their executive director then took that same piece and brought it to a group of chefs where the relationship had been closed due to a bad experience with one of their graduates or one of
Mm,
their students. He saw the video, saw firsthand the impact that it had on this woman's life, who, like, the pinnacle of her story was getting clean, getting her kids back, and getting placed
mhm.
at a job at a decent restaurant. And he broke down and said, what can I do to help? Got all of his celebrity local chefs together, started a brand new fundraising event that brought in 200,000 its first night
Wow.
and is still going to this day. And that was sparked because we were able to spark an emotion in this guy's mind and heart that
Yeah.
this is something that has value. This is why I should buy in. Like I've been looking to give back. I've made it. I need to do something better for this is it. And it was like a matter of donating his restaurant for a night and some food. It wasn't like he was
Mm,
like, here's 100,000. Like
mm,
it was like other things that you can do to create a strategic partnership with it. So some of the smaller events, I'll give you one more. Cheshire Home we worked with recently. They were a smaller gala for us at least. Usually we come in when there's like a minimum of like around 100,000 raised in one night,
mm,
and they had 105,000. They were worried because they had less people appearing at this year's gala. They brought in a sponsor to sponsor a quarter of the video. They screened the
mhm.
video for their board ahead of the gala, got another quarter of it sponsored. So into it, they're half off on their video into their gala, brought in 150,000 with less people year
Amazing.
over year,
Yeah.
$45,000 increase. That's night one, the ROI, and then they still get to take it and use this for strategic partnerships, small family
Right.
foundations, grant applications. We've seen it used
Yeah.
for. So there are like infinite amounts of
Right.
possibilities. I'm not even talking about activating your board to set up 3 meetings per board member with the piece to screen it to some of their friends. Like I'm not even talking about that yet, but
Yeah.
like there are infinite possibilities where you can take this and position it
Right.
well to bring people in.
Yeah, and it's such an important point, right? To your point that you want to create an evergreen video. It's not only video for this anniversary or this event or this, right? It's what are we going to do afterwards with this video? And I think on our end, right? Like if you have your CRM, right? Utilize it strategically as well. Use this video, the full or shorter versions of the video, and send it not to only people in your gala, but all of your supporters. Add specific personalized message, right? Tailor it to different audiences, and you're probably gonna keep receiving return on investment in the long run. It doesn't stop at that event.
100%. We haven't even got into digital yet,
Yeah, I
but
know.
we'll get there.
But the time flies and we are so
Yes.
getting closer. So I want to make sure we go through some of the questions. Do we want to kind of turn to chat and see what everyone is asking? And for everyone attending, please feel free to add in a question. Jason agreed to stay a little bit longer so we can answer more questions.
Yes.
So
And
please feel
Becky, I
free to
see,
go
can
ahead.
we see some examples of your videos? Sid, if you can link our case study sheet there, we have a one sheet PDF with just all these examples, including the 2 that I mentioned, and a few more that have made it off grant applications. One's up to like 1.6 million in grant applications. There's blue hyperlinks in this one sheet, and you'll be able to click on that and see the actual video that got them that result. So some of our best case studies, but we're still building more. Sid will drop that in for you.
Fantastic. And
Uh,
we'll also make sure that we'll include it in the follow-up for everyone joining today. We are going to be sending an email with link to this video recording and some additional resources. So please stay tuned for those after the event emails as well. I think Virginia had a quick question. She was asking, can you repeat the sentence about the good hook?
good hook. Okay, so typically when you're looking at writing or a book or anything, a series, a sitcom, they'll open with what is called a cold open. And that's your best soundbite, your most drastic, your most powerful soundbite right up front. No context, no nothing, right up front. Hook people. And you'll see this technique used on blogs, on YouTube. Everybody is talking about a good hook, and the same thing goes with social. Got to hook people in right from the very beginning. We use it with like sound bites and stuff with video, but for scripting for books, it's place something right up front that's going to cause intrigue. And I heard it said best on somebody just talking about YouTube and creating videos at work. Is it something that's going to open up a curiosity loop in the viewer's mind that now it just has to be closed? Mr. Beast is very good at doing stuff like this on YouTube. It has opened the opening, the first 10 seconds has opened a curiosity loop. And now you've got to see him jump this bus over another 100 buses or whatever he's doing there, right? But yeah, just make
Sure.
sure you're opening a curiosity loop in your viewer.
Absolutely fantastic. We also have in Q&A session a couple of questions. So one is, what's your favorite part of storytelling as a whole, especially from
Answer,
the
I'll
seventh
do
element?
answer live. Okay, of the 7 elements, my favorite part, the most important part by far is the problem. Start with the problem. and then articulate it well, spend time, don't resolve to the very end. So my favorite part is the problem. I do tend to like how all of the magic kind of comes together at the end for that happy resolution where she's clean, she got her kids back,
Mhm.
whatever it is that's happening. Like that's that magical moment where when we watch it live in audiences of 300, 500, 1,000, you'll get the applause. They won't even hear your closing line because they're so happy that there was resolution and that we held it out to the very end. And usually after the video plays, person stands up, doesn't say anything, stands up in place. That's when we get standing ovations, not after our video, but when they can connect it to a real person that is in the room with you. So it's a toss up between the problem and then the resolution that are my favorite parts. The resolution, definitely when I'm watching it live to see the payoff and then to see reactions, because that's your best gauge of it when you get those reactions from the people at audiences.
Fantastic. Thank you. There's another question I'll take over. I think it was from one of our clients. I assume if there's a plan to allow it embedded video into emails through GiveAffect. Happy to submit it and kind of talk with our engineers. I think one of the challenges there is the how heavy video becomes when we do that. But I'll follow up and make sure client success team gives some updates. But at the same time, I do want to highlight there is a benefit of having video linked back to your website because it doesn't stop at your email. That person, right, who may never been in your website, your storefront, will be going to your website, and then after they watch the video they'll be able to learn more, they'll be able to download right away. You can put call to action right there. So while I understand that a lot of time we're thinking about um, how easy it would be to play video in the email, I do want to highlight there are some benefits. Jason, do you
I
want to
got you. I got you on
add?
that too. Yeah, never want to download it as an attachment. First of all, it'll be like this big, or it will
Mhm.
take forever to load. So
Yeah.
what we've done, and I'll connect with you too and your engineering team, is Vimeo allows you to insert GIFs, six
Mm,
second GIFs of like the best part visually
preview.
of the video because there's no audio. You can put a playhead on that, and this is what we
Yep.
do in our newsletters. Sid can send you a link to that. Our newsletter sign up. We'll have a GIF 6 second loop. You click on that, it takes you to the video or to a landing page or to a blog or something maybe where you can capture their
Yeah.
information and then intrigue them for more. But video, just a quick statistic too, video and email is as much as 4,000 times more likely to be opened and engaged with, especially if you have it in all caps and brackets in the subject video. We see that a lot, your engagement
4,000
rate.
times. That's
Four
incredible.
thousand times more likely to be opened and engaged with if people know there's video in there, because it's like, oh, another newsletter, something to read. Like, but
Yeah.
if I could scroll through, click on that, listen in while I'm like making coffee or something, like even cool. And then if you hook them and they're like, wait a minute, I gotta actually pay attention to this, like all the
Mhm.
more better, right? So your engagement goes up with video
And
for
the
sure.
last thing, it made me to think that it's also like in GiveEffect specifically, when you create your digital campaign, right, with your tickets and sponsorship and other option, you can embed video as well. Maybe not exactly the same video, maybe a little video preview of the video that you're going to be playing at your event, but it's also a great area to utilize video, not just the flyer, right, for the upcoming.
Hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. So we are on time. I understand that some of you might be hopping off, and that's okay. We will be sending you email with the recording and all the additional resources. I did want to highlight that next week we have our third and last session for this month, and we're going to be talking all about logistics for your spring fundraising event. So it's going to be same time. My colleague Tara will be putting a link to sign up in the chat, and we hope to see you there as well. But let's see, there's a couple more questions, Jason, I think in the chat. One from Sasha.
Yes. Let me look at that while we do that. If anyone's hopping off, Sid, could you drop the link to our 7 elements again? I know you did once, but let's drop it again. And it'll download about 10 pages, I think, of our storytelling formula, some sample interview questions that you can ask that we still use to this day, and then break down some of your favorite movies and insert the hero. There's even a little worksheet where you can work out your own movie of who the hero and the guide and the problem was. But then print that out again for your own story. So Sid will drop that in there. And then to answer Sasha's question. We are a homeless nonprofit that has been providing services for 31 years, but promoting our great work has always taken a back seat due to funds. I haven't
Mm.
heard that before. I'm kidding. I hear that weekly. Do you have any suggestions? So getting started with your own
Mm.
story, it's tough because there's a lot of stakeholders in nonprofits, and it's not just like, hey, the CEO said it's okay, so let's do it. Like you have to get it past your board members. So even when we do discovery calls with nonprofits, we usually recommend a strategic board member, someone who's influential, be on that call so that they can be seen and heard and understand the importance of it and all that goes into it. But also maybe even a board member who could potentially be a funder of this. We have a whole sponsorship template that we've made up for people that are looking for executive producers. So if it's important to you, if you want to basically have one of your best fundraising tools that you'll have access to that can sum up the heart of your mission, who you serve, and why in 3 minutes or less, this is something that you may want to keep in your back pocket. If somebody is looking to be a part of something special or a special project, you'll see that a lot, that people give to projects sometimes more than they do to just general fund, right? If you put something on it, right? So um, we had a regional branch of Wells Fargo approach that first nonprofit that I spoke about that had like their record-breaking $1.1 million gala.
Mhm.
That was sponsored by a regional branch of Wells Fargo that came in and said, hey, we have a chunk of money. We want to do something special with it. Another branch came in and said, well, you have the same chunk of money. We're going to invest in a walk-in refrigerator for you. And whose chunk of money do you think went a little bit further? So that's one, if you have people that are looking for something to invest in something special. Two, I always go from it whenever you're trying to get a sponsorship, come at it as at a point of empowerment. We are creating, for the first time ever, we are documenting a story here.
Mm.
We are making a mini or a micro documentary about the people we serve and our story, because people need to know this, and we haven't done this before. They don't know about us. They don't know that we exist or what we do, and we're right next door. We're doing this. We're looking for 4 executive producers to come on board and maybe take a quarter of it. So, John, you were my first call. And if you get the right alpha, male or female, and you call them up and you tell them this and you say, we are doing this, we want you to be a part of, you were the first person I called. They might say, no, don't call those other people. I'll do it. I'll do the whole thing. I'll do it. So you may know that person already. That could be the executive producer of it. And
Mm.
what you'll do, what happens then is, okay, great, we'll give you sponsorship credit right at the beginning of the video, sponsored by, you want to do your company, John, Brand
Mm.
X. We could put that right in plain text in the beginning, then your logo at the end, and mention you on all our socials. And they'll come in and they'll say, no, I don't want to be mentioned. I don't want to be mentioned. And then like 2 days before the gala, they'll be like, okay, throw it in there, throw it in. So they'll go back and forth on whether or not they want to actually be named. But that's typically what happens if you keep it in the back pocket. Sid has our boilerplate sponsorship document, so reach out and we can get that for you too. It just has some verbiage, some case studies in case people have been living under a rock, like the importance of video, some of the stats that I made. Some of our best case studies are all in this like 2-sheet boilerplate document. So sponsored is usually where I'd go, and it might take you a year, it might take you 2 years to get it there, but like it'll be worth it once you
Mm.
have piece one. And then everybody else, this happened at an event we
Paying
just
for
did,
it.
2,000 people, executive director's idea, and then the current president was trying to take credit for the video as it was playing, like, yeah, I thought it was a good idea. Executive director was so mad because he championed the thing, like fighting and this and that. And then once he saw the reaction of 2,000 people in the room, he's like, oh yeah, I was with it all along with the president. So like, you need to get that buy-in. Sometimes that only happens after project
Right.
one, unfortunately, and getting
Mm.
there could be a bit of a climb, but there are grants available for it. You can request it of foundations. They don't know unless you ask them, like, yes, video is important. You can at least 4x your investment in us if you sponsor video. And nonprofits tell us all the time, like, if we get money that's unrestricted, they're almost guilty in using it for marketing. Like they can't,
Right.
it almost has
Right.
to be money set aside
Yeah.
for their marketing or admin costs. You probably hear that too a lot, Yulia, but it's foundations, they'll catch up soon. They
Mm.
will, I promise.
Thank you so much. No, this is fantastic. And thank you, everyone. We are over time. If you have any last minute questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll stay for maybe 2 more minutes. But in the chat, also, you can find a LinkedIn link to connect with Jason and myself. I know Jason posts a lot of fantastic
5
content,
days a week.
5 days a
Content
week.
every day
My goodness.
on
Okay.
nonprofit storytelling. Yes.
It's fantastic. There's so much knowledge there. I'm gonna try to post 3 times a week starting February. So I'm saying it here out loud. So all about technology for nonprofits as well. So join us on LinkedIn. We also have a quick 2-minute survey after you drop off. And I think we don't have any questions. So Jason, if you have any last tips for everyone before we finish.
Tara dropped my LinkedIn there, so that's great. And then for somebody who asked for the 7 elements, Jose, Sid, if you could just drop that in there again for everybody, that page where you can download the playbook, 7 elements playbook. And we've got a ton of resources because we post so much content that yeah, just follow along. Hopefully I'll have some good pearls of nuggets and experience for you. You can learn from our failures too. We had a lot of failures with video before we saw success. So feel free to follow, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll see you in the comments.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for joining. And thank you so much, Jason, for being here today with us. It was fantastic. And again, we'll see everyone next week to diving into logistics for your event. All right. Have a fantastic day. Bye.